SuperTalk Mississippi media production.
At Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey. From personal banking to growing your business or buying a home, our expert guidance makes it simple. We're more than a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, member FDIC, equal housing lender.
Oh, yeah.
Good morning, Mississippi.
Everything gonna be all right this morning.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
Oh, yeah.
Here on SuperTalk Mississippi.
Woo! Now, when I was a young boy, at the age of 5, my mother said I was gonna be the greatest man alive. But now I'm a man, way past 21.
Good morning. Here we go, Thursday morning. Today is the 13th of November. Glad to be with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi. C-Spire text line is open to you this morning, 601-879-4395, 601-879-4395. Give your business the edge with gigabit fiber internet from C-Spire Business. It's just one of the solutions that is offered from the C-Spire business team. Learn more about them online at cspire.com/business. C-Spire, customer inspired. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. Good morning, my friend.
Good morning. Yeah, it's been warming up, since the beginning of the week. We're up to 50 here, just about. So.
Yeah.
Easy get in the door today.
Not bad at all. Not bad at all. Unless you really liked the cold part of it.
I kind of like it. It was a nice little test early just to see if you're ready for it. Now you get a little break. And so motivation-wise, you got to get your mind around it because it's a-coming.
Pretty good forecast, though, as we roll toward the near the end of the football season. You get a mid-November game with a daytime high in the mid-70s and overnight lows in the low 50s. That's pretty spectacular.
Oh, yeah.
Today, Holly Springs, partly cloudy for you. 72 for the high with winds light and variable. Kosciuszko, you got sunshine and clouds mixed with a high of 75. Intervals of clouds and sunshine in Macomb with a high of 77. Van Cleve, sunny along with a few clouds, 77 for you. I don't remember a stretch, Lance, and we're at about 2-3 weeks where the entire state was basically the exact same forecast every day.
It has been
a really long period of time. Now, with the super cold that we got, North Mississippi was a little bit colder than South Mississippi. But, for the most part, it's just been pick 4 or 5 cities, copy and paste the forecast, and there you go.
Yeah, when I do the Delta weather and Jackson weather in the mornings, it's 2 separate sites I go to, it'll be the exact same thing. I'm like, I need to break this up a little bit just in case somebody's commuting in, from the Delta into Jackson. Like, man, I just heard the same forecast. But, it does look exactly the same.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, you did.
Yes, you did. You absolutely did.
I'll try to throw a different word in there just to break it up. But, yeah, it's been the same thing, pretty much copy and paste.
John Dickinson was born on this day in 1732. Not of great significance, although I did find it interesting that he had been a governor in 2 different states. Dickinson was an American lawyer and a governor of Delaware and Pennsylvania, but was born in Maryland. Popular guy wherever he went, I suppose. Or powerful guy.
Knew how to win.
Yeah. Robert Louis Stevenson was born on this day in 1850. The Scottish author, novelist, with credits that include Treasure Island, The Strange Case of Dr. Jekyll and Mr. Hyde, and others, born in Edinburgh, Scotland. Gary Marshall, we're going to talk about a guy that could write. Now, this was a different type of writer. We're talking about a television and a screenwriter. American TV writer with The Dick Van Dyke Show. He was a TV producer with The Odd Couple, Happy Days, Laverne and Shirley, and then became a film director. Pretty Woman, Runaway Bride, The Princess Diaries. That's a pretty good list.
That's bringing the heat right there, man.
Just over and over and over. Merrick Garland is 73 years old today, born in 1952. Feels like we dodged a bullet with that cat. Could have been on the Supreme Court. How things might be different. Do you remember the chain of events? Barack Obama on his way out of office. Mitch McConnell says, we really don't want him to appoint a Supreme Court justice. They stall. Merrick Garland ends up not getting that hearing and is never confirmed as a Supreme Court justice. Ends up as Attorney General. Did plenty of damage there, but perhaps not as much damage as he could have done if he had been in another spot.
Got to be careful from those Chicago folks, especially the Democrat Chicago ones. The load of them in that original Obama administration into Biden, and check some where they're from. There's a whole lot of Chicago folks in there, man.
Yeah, I tell you, the one that seems like the guy that you would be afraid of is Rahm Emanuel.
Yeah, well, and Blagojevich too. You know, that story. His story is one of the unique ones. He got kind of chumped around. So if you ever watch anything, and there is a very good documentary. I can't remember the name of it, but man, that was extremely insightful, and he was the main character in it. You know, they interviewed him predominantly through the whole thing, and you're going, whoa, man, I didn't know those layers. But he really explains it well, how Chicago politics and, in Illinois in general works. I was kind of like, wow, man, that's a machine there now.
A little bit of a peek behind the curtain.
Yeah, dude, it was something else. So if you see it, this is after he's gotten out of jail, so
yeah, very
good documentary.
Jimmy Kimmel is 57 today, born in 1967, the TV host and producer, born in Brooklyn, New York. Feels like a guy that probably will cry on his birthday.
I was going to say the man of many tears. Yeah.
1789, in a letter to Jean-Baptiste Leroy, Benjamin Franklin wrote words that not only rang true then, but certainly rang true now. In this world, nothing can be said to be certain except death and taxes. And words that have lived on.
Well, and you hope he didn't make the mistake of calling him Jean-Baptiste Leroy, because over here that's Leroy.
Yeah.
I like that Leroy. I had an uncle named Leroy, so.
Did you?
Yeah. Spelled Leroy, but yeah. The French pronunciation.
We know about the running of the bulls in Spain. Did you know about the running of the bulls in England?
No.
In 1839, you had the last bull run in Britain, as the Stamford Bull Run ends after 700 years.
Wow.
So Pamplona's still doing it. For 700 years, they had a bull run in Britain. And then in 1839, they said, that's enough.
Was that
no more.
Was that when Guinness was invented or something?
I don't know.
I'm going to look that one up.
1856, the great bell of Big Ben first chimes at the foot of the still unfinished clock tower outside the Palace of Westminster. 1940, Walt Disney's animated film Fantasia, starring Leopold Stokowski, the Philadelphia Orchestra, Mickey Mouse, and ballet dancing hippopotamuses, premiered at the Broadway Theater in New York. 1979, Ronald Reagan announced his candidacy for President of the United States, did so in New York City. 1984, my guy, Chicago Cubs infielder Ryan Sandberg, named NL MVP. Got the award on November 13th. It was the same day 3 years later in 1987 that Sonny and Cher performed together for the final time singing I Got You, Babe on Late Night with David Letterman. It was this day in 1995 when GoldenEye, the 17th James Bond film, made its premiere, starring, for the very first time, Pierce Brosnan.
That was the best one of his group. I just watched it the other day. All of the Pierce ones, I went back through them, and yeah, GoldenEye's the best.
Eminem released the single Lose Yourself from the soundtrack of 8 Mile, the first rap song to win the Academy Award for Best Original Song. How about this one? 2014. Chandra Bahadur Danji, the world's shortest man at 1 foot 9.5 inches, meets the world's tallest man, Sultan Khoisan, at 8 feet 3 inches. They were together for an event in London for Guinness World Records Day. We're back with you after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi.
From the Venable Glass.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
On with the show.
Is back. Holy smokes. On Super Talk, Mississippi.
On the first part of the journey, I was looking at all the life. There were plants and birds and rocks and things. There was sand and hills and rain. The first thing I met was a fly with a buzz and the sky with no clouds. The heat was hot and the ground was dry, but the air was full of sound. I've been through the desert.
Good to be with you this morning. It is Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk, Mississippi. Appreciate you joining the conversation. The show is presented every day by Community Bank, rooted in our community, communitybank.net. C-Spire text line open to you at 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395. Give your business the edge with gigabit fiber from fiber internet from C-Spire. Well, it's officially over. They got it done. The ink is dry. The president got out one of those Sharpies that it's hard to wrap your hand around. It's so big, and he starts doing this with his signature. It's not exactly just with the stroke of a pen. It's a process with him. But the president signs the bill last night, and the government is now open for business. It's after the House yesterday passed a sweeping spending package to reopen the government, setting the stage to end this marathon shutdown, the longest in U.S. history, that churned economic turmoil around the world, certainly around the country. Sparked an internal battle among Democrats over the future of the party and how best to take on President Trump. The vote total in the lower chamber, 222 to 209, almost along party lines. There were two Republicans that opposed the measure, and that was because of a protest against deficit spending, while 6 Democrats hopped the aisle to support it, citing the importance of getting federal funding flowing again. There was an opportunity where I guess it was the clerk, called the roll and asked if anybody wanted to change their vote. Those 6 Democrats that jumped to the other side, they got a hearty boo hiss from their colleagues. Not allowed to have a different opinion. The legislation survived an 11th-hour revolt from some Republican House members who balked at a provision inserted by the Senate just a couple of days ago. This one flew under the radar. It was a provision that would empower GOP senators to sue the federal government for up to $500,000 if they were among the people whose phone records were seized by federal investigators during their probe into the January 6th attack on the U.S. Capitol. We had Republican senators or House members coming out saying, look, two wrongs don't make a right here. Can't sue the federal government as a sitting senator because you didn't like the outcome of an investigation. You didn't like the way an investigation was conducted. You can't do that. Ultimately, Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, diffused the outcry with a promise to fast-track a separate bill to overturn the Senate language, with a vote expected next week. Spending package went to the White House last night. Donald Trump stayed up late, except for the fact that he doesn't ever really go to sleep, apparently, and he signed it into law. Some other news headlines for you this morning. A man died on Tuesday afternoon after being trapped under farming equipment on Moon Lake Road in Coahoma County. The incident was reported at about 4:30 on November 11th. The Coahoma County Fire Department, law enforcement officers, and Pafford EMS arrived on the scene. They found the victim entrapped beneath the machinery, and with the assistance of a wrecker service and maintenance technicians, were able to free him. However, the coroner's office pronounced the man dead at the scene. At this point, his identity has not yet been released, pending family notification. Spent a lot of time in that part of the country. That is, ugh.
Yeah, you may not see anybody for a little while if you're out, on the farm out in the Delta. I know where we are in Issaquena, it may be an hour or two.
Yeah, but Moon Lake Road's pretty heavily traveled.
I haven't been down that, but I figured he was probably maybe off maybe doing some farming off Moon Lake Road or something, and got maybe trapped under some equipment. Whew, that's a rough way to go, man. Goodness.
No doubt. Mississippi native Kaylee Clark's run on season 28 of NBC's The Voice has come to an end, with the country singer falling just short of the knockout round that comes up on Monday. Clark was on Coach Niall Horan's team. She lost to sibling trio DEK of Hearts. She mesmerized some with never-before-seen yodeling in her rendition of Leanne Rimes' Blue. I guess I just need to pull this up and listen to it. When I hear yodeling,
I think of Ricola.
I think of Ricola.
Ricola. Exactly. I mean, that's the first thing that comes to my mind. It's like my childhood.
Excuse me. Sorry, I got myself laughing.
They got new Ricola, too. It's got like some kind of different flavor to it.
Oh,
now.
yeah?
They brought back the commercial.
And anyway, the rest of it, she had a good time. It was a hard decision. She loved her coach. They loved her. Compared her to Miranda Lambert, Carrie Underwood. Big future ahead for Kaylee Clark. I hope JT doesn't feel like I cut that story short. I just got to the yodeling, and I was like, wait, what? The Hattiesburg Zoo is welcoming the public to visit its nationally recognized Christmas-themed lights display this holiday season. Selected as one of the top 10 best zoo lights by USA Today, Lights of the Wild will feature supersized animals, larger-than-life flowers and plants, and holiday-centered decor. The festival spread out over 11 nights. Weekends in December 5th through the 7th, 12th through the 14th, and then 19th through the 23rd, 6 to 8:30 each night. In addition to the zoo's collection of lights, guests will also have the chance to enjoy story time with Mrs. Claus in the Asbury Discovery Center, photos with Santa in the Africa Pavilion, and animal encounters throughout the zoo. along with unlimited rides on the Northern Lights Express train and Candy Cane Carousel. Numerous holiday treat stations will be located through the zoo as well. And, of course, yes, there will be a Letters to Santa station where you can drop off the letters headed for St. Nick. And one last thing, it's going to snow there every night. Going to snow every night. White flakes will fill the sky at the splash pad and at Mount Everest. Limited tickets available, so be sure to get there early and get yours.
That's going all out right there.
I mean, it seemed like a pretty good Zoo Lights celebration.
Yeah, no wonder they won.
Yes, no doubt. There's a new representative in Washington, D.C., from the state of Arizona. Democrat Adelita Grijalva was sworn in as the newest member of Congress on Wednesday, more than 7 weeks after she won a special election in Arizona to fill the House seat last held by her late father. Grijalva was sworn in by House Speaker Mike Johnson yesterday, shortly before the House returned to session to vote on a deal to fund the government. After delivering a floor speech, she was the 218th signature on a discharge position that sometime next week is set to trigger a vote to release the files related to Jeffrey Epstein. 218 was the number needed to trigger the vote to get those files released. That is a bipartisan effort, but we learned a little something yesterday about the Epstein files. I'm not talking about the email that was selectively released, despite the fact that what was in that email has been disputed multiple times by one of the victims, who conveniently is no longer with us because she's committed suicide. No, we learned that Jeffrey Epstein, the Jeffrey Epstein files, have become nothing more than performative. You have a few Republicans that really want them released. Just put it all out there. You got a few Democrats that really want it all released. Just put it all out there. Do you know what else you got? You got a bunch of Republicans and a bunch of Democrats who have grabbed onto the Epstein saga and said, ooh, it's a political football. Let's kick it back and forth, back and forth, back and forth. We're back with you after this. Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi. Sports headlines are next.
From this mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi.
I don't know where you decided to go to pull that out of the archives,
Beck, yeah.
But well done with the Beck on this
Once it gets
Thursday
rolling,
morning
once
from
it gets rolling, it's good stuff.
1999.
Yeah.
In the time of chimpanzees.
Oh, yeah. Man,
You may have to
white boy rap there.
You know what? Somewhere in the archives there, because Borky used to play this one from time to time. I think there's was it the Refreshments? Played Los Banditos.
Oh yeah, I can find that. I'm sure.
That's The World is Full of Stupid People. That's that's a good one. You can join us on the C Spire text line at 601-879-4395. It's time for your morning sports update, brought to you by Pearl River Resort, online at pearlriverresort.com. Your home for casino thrills, family fun, and live entertainment. Check them out online, pearlriverresort.com, or visit them in person. Sports related, a question that comes on the C Spire text line. Herschel says, good morning, Richard. Enjoy the show. Personal request, I'm going to Oxford Saturday to attend my first Ole Miss football game on campus. Can you provide me suggestions or recommendations for parking? Thank you.
Yeah, it's better to helicopter in.
Do you have a parachute? I have multiple thoughts here. Number one, Herschel, good for you, man. First on-campus game. I think you picked a good one because the environment on Saturday night at Vaught-Hemingway Stadium is going to be it's going to be on tilt. It's going to be really, really, really good. So good for you for that. There is not an easy answer on parking. Several years ago, Ole Miss put in place, because there was such a parking issue, a permit system that season ticket holders buy parking passes to go along with their tickets, and it's based on a rank of giving and what. Complicated anyway. You can buy those on the secondary ticket market, but you're going to pay a lot for them, more than you would pay. My advice is this. There are on Jackson Avenue and Van Buren, kind of on the eastern end of campus, so between the square and campus, there are a number of businesses, parking lots, etc., where private folks are selling parking. And you may look at it and be like, oh, $50, $40, $75. It's less than you'll pay for a parking pass on campus. It's not a bad walk, and you're going to get out faster afterward. So it's kind of ridiculous, but it's the price of doing business. It's expensive to go to a football game.
Yeah, I think, wasn't it the Tebow game? They got beat in 08 in Oxford.
No, that was in Gainesville.
Yeah, what was the one where Ole Miss won? Wasn't it the previous year? I can't remember how it went, but we had all, as a family, gone to that game. My mom had come up and everything, and it was so exciting in there. Somehow or another, she thought she lost her diamond ring, like the diamond in it, in the stadium. So I remember getting home, and she's like, hey, do you think tomorrow you could take your run and, like, run stadiums and see if you can find my diamond? I'm like, do you know how hard that would be? So I did, man. I went up there and ran and looked all over and couldn't find it. Eventually she found it, and it was not at the stadium. But what a great memory, though, us beating Florida. Then I think it was not long after you went down there, and we had the Tebow win where the plaque got put up after that, though. So, yeah, he'll have a blast. This will be a fun day for him.
You're talking about the one where they tore the goalpost down?
Yes, I think that was the one. I mean, it was ruckus, man. We hadn't beat a team like that in a while, so.
I think it was 2001 or 2002.
Yeah, it was a few years later when the Tebow one hit. But, yeah, I remember. It was not long after I was out of college. I think my sister had just graduated, and, that was a funny day. But, no, didn't find a diamond there. I found all kind of stuff, but no diamond.
I think Rex Grossman was still playing quarterback for Florida at the time. So, all right, a couple of other sports notes. Tarek Skubal confirmed his greatness in 2025. Paul Skeens affirmed that his is just beginning. Skubal, the left-handed ace of the Detroit Tigers, won his second consecutive American League Cy Young Award. Skeens, the second-year right-hander with the Pittsburgh Pirates, followed up his Rookie of the Year season by winning his first National League Cy Young Award, getting all 30 first-place votes, a unanimous winner. Skubal became the first pitcher to win back-to-back awards since Jacob deGrom did it in 2018-2019 for the Mets. First AL pitcher to do it since Pedro in 99 and 2000 with the Red Sox. He's only the fifth pitcher to win a Cy Young Award in his first or second season. Pretty good group. Fernando Valenzuela, Brett Saberhagen, Dwight Gooden, Tim Lincecum. That's Skeens talking about. Only the fifth pitcher to win a Cy Young in either his first or second season, joining Fernando Valenzuela, Brett Saberhagen, Doc Gooden, and Tim Lincecum. What a list. Yeah. So congratulations to those dudes. Top 25 football action coming your way this weekend. It actually gets started on Friday night. Games involving top 25 teams. Clemson. You realize Clemson is 4-5?
Yeah.
They are at number 20 Louisville Friday night, ESPN 6:30. Also on Friday night over on Fox, Minnesota travels north and west to take on number 8 Oregon. Games on Saturday, 11 a.m. Wisconsin is at number 2 Indiana. South Carolina visits number 3 Texas A&M. A&M 9-0, undefeated in the league. Number 9 Notre Dame is at number 22 Pittsburgh. That game is on ABC. That's where College Game Day will be this weekend. Also at 11, Michigan, ranked 18th in the country, travels to Northwestern. Also at 11, we spread these games out a little bit. Number 24 South Florida headed to Annapolis to take on the Naval Academy. Arizona visits number 25 Cincinnati. Here we go, some afternoon games. 2:30. Tuscaloosa, number 11 Oklahoma, number 4 Alabama.
It's only $47 to get in that game.
Yeah.
I mean,
that's a little surprising, actually.
Yeah, that's why I said that. I mean, with two very good teams, number 4 and a number 11, and Brian Denny, man.
UCF is at number 6 Texas Tech.
Go UCF.
Red Raiders 9-1 on the year. NC State travels to number 15 Miami, kicks at 2:30 Central Time. Georgia Tech's at Boston College. Top 25 matchup in the Big Ten. Number 21 Iowa at number 17 USC, Southern California. At 2:30, number 19 Virginia visits Duke. Duke, despite the fact that they are 5-4 overall, they have just one loss in the ACC and perhaps the inside track to get to the ACC championship game. New Mexico State is a prohibitive underdog on the road against number 23 Tennessee. Number 13 Utah is at Baylor. Night kickoff there. UCLA at number 1 Ohio State under the lights in Columbus. You can't get into this one for $47. It'll take you 2.5 Benjamins to get in the door at Sanford Stadium in Athens for number 10 Texas and number 5 Georgia.
Just roll it with a bag of pennies. Yeah.
TCU is at number 12 BYU. That one kicks off at 9:15, and also part of the Saturday night game. Ticket prices come down a little bit. Get in the door price at this point, $165 for Florida at number 7 Ole Miss. That's what's coming up this weekend.
They got a big one for the Golden Eagles to be hosting Texas State. So
big one,
yeah, big one there. Got to win.
Texas State going to try to fight after the game, or are they going to just shut it down and be okay?
Yeah,
weren't they the ones involved with the fight? Wasn't it Texas State and Louisiana last week?
Is that Texas Southern or Texas?
Maybe I messed that up. The SEC's availability report came out yesterday. And for the Ole Miss Florida game, linebacker Raymond Collins, the only one that is out for the Rebels. Long list for the Gators.
Yeah, that was Texas State. You're right, yeah.
Trey Wilson, Dallas Wilson, Ty Jackson, L.J. McCray, Aaron Gates, Michael Caraway, Jacoby Jackson, Dijon Johnson, Javion Toombs, all out. Doubtful, questionable. They got more on that list. Hurt, injured, quit. A bunch on the availability report for the Gators. That is your morning sports update brought to you by Pearl River Resort. Online, pearlriverresort.com. We got a lottery update for you. Then we will dive into the news. Don't forget the senator from Mississippi, Cindy Hyde-Smith, will be with us a little bit later this morning. She joins us at 7:35.
From the Bendable Glass
Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Your Mississippi Lottery Update brought to you by the Mississippi Lottery online at mslottery.com. You can go there, check the numbers, see all the new games that are there for you. Lotto America. Somebody was asking us about this yesterday. Said, did I see that Lotto America has only won once? Like the winning numbers have only been called like once in the last year and a half? So, Lance, I'm doing this anecdotally, not like speaking on behalf of the lottery. I only remember one Lotto America winner, though.
Yeah. I mean, I've been doing this for a bit, and I don't remember but one. Yeah. So, yeah, it's a slow play.
It is. The jackpot for this Saturday night, November 15th, up to $7 million with the cash value of $3.26 million. There was no winner in the Powerball, and so the pot is getting right. $546 million, the estimated jackpot for the next drawing, which will come on Saturday night. Cash value of $255 million. You think that's a big jackpot? How about this one? Mega Millions Friday night drawing. It's up to $965 million. An estimated cash value of $445,300,000. If I'd won that last Friday, I would not be driving to Stillwater, Oklahoma this weekend. I'd still be going. Like, I would go and I would work and do the game and would prepare the same way that I always do. But, friend, I would get there through the air a little more quickly. And then I would be back in Oxford on Saturday night for the Rebels and the Gators.
Yeah, the uber rich people like that, you know, they fly to where they're going and they chopper in to the next spot. Then they have a driver waiting on them. So, yeah, you'd have to – there's 3 levels of logistics there that –
we can handle the driver, right? Yeah. It's not going to be a chopper, at least not initially.
No, you fly in, then you chopper over to the nearest place where you can sit the chopper down, and then you get into the limo, you know, and you're taken care of. So that's how the uber rich do it.
Yeah.
Then you can get
I'm
get
not
to
that.
your,
but in this fantasy world,
way.
while I actually have a plane, one of my kids would meet me at the airport and take me to the Ole Miss game. It's wonderful. Wonderful. Alas.
Yeah, I'm still waiting on my big check. I want the big one.
Help me with that drive on Saturday night, David Kellum. I look forward to listening to you and Harry and John and Brett and Gary and the whole crew. Gonna need that on the ride home. Unless I just throw this out there as a possibility. I know it's a shot in the dark. If one of you listening happens to have a plane that already on late Saturday afternoon is making its way from Stillwater, Oklahoma to Oxford or really anywhere else in North Mississippi, I can make it work if you can get me to Memphis or south.
I want to holler at Gerard on that deal. He can come pick you up.
Well, you know, he'll probably be at the game already. I'm not asking anybody to make any special arrangements, but if you happen to already be flying from Oklahoma to Mississippi late Saturday afternoon and you have a seat, I'd be happy to hitch a ride. You can text us if you need to get in touch with me on the C-Spire text line at 601-879-4395. 601-879-4395.
And Mark, you're very kind. Yeah, if Cross won the big money, he's agreed to get me some Sitka waders. So yeah,
2 pair.
Yeah, I don't want to have to worry about the lifetime warranty.
Yeah,
you got to have a work pair, and you got to have a pair that you go out to the bar in. Vicksburg, yeah.
Hakeem Jeffries was good and mad last night. He said definitively no Democrat will vote for the bill. And even without any Democrats voting for the bill and a couple of Republicans defecting on reopening the government, there was going to be enough to reopen the government. I mean, you were going to have 3, 4. I'm not doing it, Lance. 3 or 4 was the number that we're going to have to flip to the other side, not a couple of numbers consecutive that are higher than that. And according to CNN, Hakeem Jeffries was big mad, was fuming
Kentucky, Greg Steube of Florida, the Democratic yes votes, Jared Golden of Maine, Adam Gray of California, Marie Glusenkamp-Perez of Washington State, Don Davis of North Carolina, Henry Cuellar of Texas, and Tom Suozzi, who's a New York Democrat as well. So some of the more moderate, some of the more swingy district Democrats breaking ranks with their party leadership, which was fighting very hard, whipping their members to vote against it. But a handful of them broke ranks, joined with the Republicans, and now this bill is on set to passage, and federal workers can probably go bid in Kentucky.
So the bill went to the president's desk last night. You had 6 Democrats, centrist Democrats from, as the reporter at CNN said, swingy districts. And they knew that normal people thought that the government should be working, that Congress should be in session, getting stuff done. And they voted as such. And so everybody goes back to work today. And we will discuss that much more when we come back. Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for being with us.
The views and opinions expressed by the hosts, guests, and callers on this show are not the opinions of TeleSouth Communications, its management, or advertisers.
Let's go. Waking up the Magnolia State. Mornings with Richard Cross. That's what it's here for. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Pleasure to be with you as you start your day, get out the door, head to work, head to school. Maybe you're, already done for the week and you're headed to Oxford for the weekend. Maybe you're headed to Columbia, Missouri for the weekend. Mississippi State playing at Missouri on Saturday. If you are, be safe on the road, whatever you're doing. Thanks for tuning in and having Mornings with Richard Cross as part of your morning routine. Mornings is presented by Community Bank. At Community Bank, we're more than just a place to manage your money. We're your neighbors, your partners, and your trusted financial advisors. For decades, we've been rooted in our community, helping families, small businesses, and individuals achieve their dreams. Whether it's opening your first savings account, planning for a brighter future, or growing your business, we're here every step of the way. We're dedicated to our customers, committed to your success, and always here when you need us. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC. C-Spire text line is open this morning, 601-879-4395, if you want to join the conversation. This hour of the show is brought to you by MWG Employer Services. Running a business is tough, and if you're struggling with HR, benefits, payroll, you're not alone. Other people are the exact same in the exact same situation. But some of those other people have teamed up with MWG Employer Services to make it a little bit easier. MWG Employer Services provides a full range of employer services, and they will build out a custom plan just for you. To learn more, give them a call, 601-206-7966, or go to mwgemployerservices.com. We have officially ended the longest shutdown in the history of the federal government. So everybody's going to get back to work. I mean, they're going to hit the ground running. They're going to work together. They're going to get a lot of meaningful legislation passed. They're going to get the United States of America on the track that it needs to be on. I hope your sarcasm meter was pegging a little bit there. So what is the result? What is the result? What are some takeaways from the government shutdown that is now over? The Hill has 5 items that they say we should look at. One of the things is greater division among Democrats. We've talked about the makeup of the Democrat Party. You have the moderate, centrist Democrats, and there aren't a whole bunch of them. I mean, you saw that in the House last night with the vote to reopen. You only had 6 Democrats that voted for it. which is kind of interesting because Democrats have been telling us over and over and over for the last 7 weeks, 7 weeks. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. That it's Republicans' fault, right? This is the Republican government shutdown. This is Donald Trump's stoppage of the government. And without including an extension to the Affordable Care Act subsidies in whatever you got through to reopen the government, not going to happen. Wasn't going to happen. Well, the ACA subsidies extension was not part of the bill to reopen the government. There were a couple of concessions in there from Republicans, but by and large, the party of Donald Trump stood firm. And they did not cave to some of the demands of Democrats. And so Democrats who ultimately voted, a few of them in the Senate and a few of them in the House, ultimately voted to reopen the government. Excuse me. They are the object of scorn from their party mates. Democrats have been struggling, the Hill rights, to come up with a uniform counterattack against President Trump. Progressive lawmakers said that ACA measure had to be in there. The crazy thing about this is that, and this is something that we've discussed a number of times, Democrats had voted for the exact same continuing resolution multiple times to keep the government open, but this time they said no. And it is called for, it's led for many to call for the ouster of Chuck Schumer as the Senate Minority Leader. He's already under fire. And you have senators and representatives who are openly on the House chastising, really making fun of Chuck Schumer, saying that AOC is coming and there's nothing you can do to stop her. In fact, there was a representative from Texas last night who spoke briefly who said, it certainly is good this evening to hear from the leader of the Democratic Party, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I'm disappointed that we couldn't hear from the other leader of the Democrat Party, Zohran Mamdani. He was lightly booed on the floor. Progressive Republican Rashida Tlaib, the Democrat from Michigan, wrote on X that Schumer has failed to meet the moment and is out of touch with the American people. Ro Khanna, Democrat from California, he posted that Schumer is no longer effective and should be replaced. So what about the Republicans? What do we take away from this? They have said no to the ACA subsidies, Obamacare, which means they're now kind of officially on the clock for a plan that will take care of the rising cost of health care. And that's an issue that could come back to haunt Republicans in the midterms. Without congressional action, millions of Americans are facing a significant spike in their insurance premiums and their out-of-pocket health costs starting on January 1st. While Democrats were not successful in averting that cliff as part of the spending deal, they did get a lot of the country talking about it. If costs spike for the roughly 24 million patients benefiting from the tax credits tied to the ACA, Democrats will be ready to pounce with the argument that President Trump and Republicans didn't act to prevent it, that they don't care about you, your health care, or the cost of your health care. Schumer said, healthcare costs made a major impact on the 2025 election. They will certainly have an impact in the 2026 election, talking about the election that we had just a couple of week and change ago.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that he says that because, I mean, it didn't impact Obama getting elected the second time after your premiums and your deductibles and everything went up 400+%. So it's interesting comments. They're real interested in keeping healthcare costs low. Okay.
Republican Representative Jeff Van Drew said, I hate Obamacare. I hate that I have to say this, but in the short term, we cannot allow people's health care to double in cost. Don't take their health care away. Subsidize it. That's from a Republican representative from a blue state, New Jersey. The Hill says Republicans find success in playing hardball. Democrats were mad at Republican leaders who refused to meet with them to negotiate over their demands throughout the shutdown. And Mike Johnson, the Speaker of the House, he stuck with those hardline tactics. He canceled 6 weeks of House votes during the shutdown, keeping the chamber on an extended, unscheduled recess. Hakeem Jeffries and others said, "We welcome our Republican colleagues back. They've been on a 7-week taxpayer-funded vacation." Disingenuous at best, but a good talking point. The Speaker, Mike Johnson, insisted that lawmakers were working behind the scenes, that Republicans had nothing to negotiate, that extending the ACA subsidies was simply not going to happen. The Hill writes that one of the takeaways is that President Trump has broken from his reputation as being a deal maker. Trump said early in the shutdown that he was open to a deal with Democrats on extending the Obamacare subsidies, but he followed up on social media saying that he would not negotiate until the government was open once again. And both Speaker Mike Johnson and Senate Majority Leader John Thune stuck to that. They said, we're not making a deal. And we are left with the question, there were things in this spending bill that are extended out for a year. But there's a lot that is not, that you've only got government funding through the end of January. And so this stopgap measure that's going to fund the entire government for 2.5 months leaves the question, are we going to be back in the exact same place at the end of January? There are more appropriations bills that are on the docket, and they got to figure out a way to work through those. Some representatives and senators are saying there's going to be another health care fight in just 2.5 months. We'll ask Cindy Hyde-Smith coming up in about 20 minutes about that, getting the rest of the appropriation bills done. Will we be able to avoid another shutdown in just a couple of months?
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
What is it? What's going on?
Mornings with Richard Cross.
It is what it is.
Yes, it is. Super Talk, Mississippi.
Well, it's you and me, baby, no one else we could trust. We'll say nothing to no one, know how we bust and never crack a smile or flinch or cry for nobody. Well, give your ID card to the border guard. Yeah, your alien says you got Jean-Luc Picard of the United Federation of Planets. 'Cause he won't speak English anyway. Everybody knows if the world is full of stupid people, so meet me.
Some would say this should be the anthem for Congress.
Walkout song, baby.
Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Thanks for joining us. Glad to be with you. The show presented by Community Bank. Find them online at communitybank.net. Democrats released new emails from Jeffrey Epstein in which the late financier discussed Donald Trump, prompting Republicans to respond with a trove of documents after accusing Democrats of cherry-picking emails that would make the president look bad. The emails initially released by Democrats include a 2011 exchange between Epstein and his longtime associate Ghislaine Maxwell, years after Epstein and Trump had a falling out, as well as messages with journalist Michael Wolff in 2019 while Trump was in the Oval Office. The April 2nd, 2011 email in question included text where Epstein wrote to Maxwell, "I want you to realize that that dog hasn't barked is Trump." There was a redacted name followed by the words, spent hours at my house with him. He has never once been mentioned, police chief, etc. I'm 75% there. Maxwell's response that same day was, I've been thinking about that. ... So the redacted name is reported to be the name of Virginia Giuffre, who was one of the most outspoken Epstein victims, but who testified under oath multiple times that she had never been around Donald Trump. And so you are left to decide the validity of the emails, what the emails are talking about. There's not a lot of context there. The White House and House Republicans, again, said that that redacted name was the name of Virginia Giuffre. They accused Democrats of selectively leaking emails to smear President Trump. Caroline Leavitt, the White House press secretary, yesterday said the unnamed victim referenced in these emails is the late Virginia Giuffre, who repeatedly said President Trump was not involved in any wrongdoing whatsoever and couldn't have been friendlier to her in their limited interactions. The fact remains that President Trump kicked Jeffrey Epstein out of his club decades ago for being a creep to his female employees, including Giuffre. The email is certainly ambiguous, unclear, about when Epstein was claiming that Trump spent the time at his house. And so you're left with the question of, well, why don't you just release all of it? Kash Patel has repeatedly said that the information that has been released is information that is credible and has been verified throughout the investigation. Now, one of the Republican proponents for releasing all of the documents has been Tim Burchett. Tim Burchett is very outspoken on this particular issue and has pointed out that if there was actually information there that was damning to the President of the United States, Democrats already would have released it. And he called yet again yesterday for a UC, unanimous consent vote to release all the information, because Democrats have said over and over and over, release it, release it, release it. Some Republicans have said the exact same thing. Others have said, no, we're going to go with the Justice Department. We're going to let them release what they want. And so I mentioned a little while earlier this morning that the newest representative, I'm going to mispronounce her last name, Adelita
Grijalva?
Grijalva, yeah, from Arizona. She was in front of a microphone yesterday and was asked a question by a reporter about all of this, and this is spliced together. So you've got the question, a non-answer from her. You're going to hear from Tim Burchett as he's walking outside the Capitol explaining what he proposed. And then you will hear from Representative Pete Aguilar that actually gives you a little bit of insight into what's going on here. It's not, or at least it doesn't appear to be, that the Democrats actually care about whether all of this information is released. They care about something different. They care about painting Republicans in a bad light over the entire Epstein investigation. Take a listen to this. It's about a minute and a half long, but I think it's worth your time.
Democrats continue to say that it's Republicans who are keeping the Epstein files hidden, but Congressman Tim Burchett is just reporting that he tried to bring a release of the Epstein files to the floor immediately, and Democrats blocked it. Do you have any insight as to what happened there and why?
There is a very confused look on the face of Grijalva as that question is being answered. She kind of cuts her eyes sideways and purses her lips a little bit and kind of shakes her head. Now here's Tim Burchett.
When was that?
Just reported it. Just about.
Democrats going, oh, when was that? What are you talking about? And now Aguilar steps to the microphone.
About 4 minutes ago.
I tried to do
This is Tim Burchett. He says, I tried to do
a UC unanimous consent of tried to get the Epstein files, get it straight to the floor, just to cut out all this nonsense. And, and the Democrats blocked it, oddly enough.
All right, so let's talk about what that means real quick. Tim Burchett tried to get a unanimous consent piece. He said, let's cut all the nonsense out. Democrats now have the 218th signature that they need that will force a floor vote on the release of all of the Epstein files. They've gotten what they need. And so Tim Burchett, now that they have secured the requisite number of signatures, says, all right, you got your signatures. I'm for releasing this. Let's cut out all the nonsense. Let's just all sign on, or at least 218 of us, to these unanimous consent vote, and we'll release it all, and we can get through this. So what does Pete Aguilar say? He is in impressive spin mode.
I think it's incredibly clear that Republicans will stop at nothing to avoid the disclosure of this information.
Okay, they will stop at nothing to avoid the disclosure of the information, except for the fact that Tim Burchett just gave you an option to immediately release all of the information.
So what that means is 218 signatures were reached despite White House efforts, even at the 11th hour, to summon people down to the White House to try to get them to remove their signatures.
What he's referencing there is an effort that the White House made with a couple of representatives, including Lauren Boebert and Marjorie Greene Taylor, to change or remove their signature from the list to release the documents.
Those members said no. And so our rules indicate at 218, members get a vote. And so that's what we're looking forward to. We're not looking for people to avoid taking a vote on this. And that's what that effort was. That is a weak effort to try to allow Republicans to pass this measure without being accountable and showing whether they support this or not.
Okay, so Tim Burchett saying, let's get all the files out there, was a weak measure, a weak attempt designed to keep Republicans from being held accountable.
So let's call the vote. The discharge process has its rules. Let's bring the question up. Nothing prevents the Speaker from bringing this up tomorrow if he wanted it done. But if he drags it out, and if the will of those that bipartisan coalition holds, we will have this before us in a couple weeks.
All right, so it appears as if next week is when Speaker Mike Johnson is going to bring the issue to a vote on the floor of the House. Pete Aguilar just told you, we don't really care about getting all the information out there. What we care about is a vote where you have to put your name on the line as either yay or nay. It's not about getting the information out and doing what's best for the American people and making sure that there's transparency in this process so that we can finally bring the Epstein issue to a close. It's about a political win for Democrats so that they can assign names to who voted yes and who voted no. So was it about getting to that 218th signature so that they could get the information, or was it about this is the way we can make Republicans look bad? From this segment of Mornings with Richard Cross is brought to you by Covington County Hospital in Collins, where your health matters.
Mornings with Richard Cross. Wake up. Get going. Wake up. Come on. All right. SuperTalk, Mississippi. Wake up.
C-Spire text line is open to you, 601-879-4395. That's the best way for you to join the conversation. It is my pleasure to welcome one of our two senators from the state of Mississippi, Cindy Hyde-Smith, joining us from Washington this morning. Always gracious with her time. Senator, thanks so much for joining me. Is there a sense of relief that the government is finally open and you all can kind of get back to work at this point?
last night to watch the president sign that into law. And, I mean, it's been 40-something days, and, you know, it was a really stressful time as we go through the airport to look at the TSA agents, as we come into the Capitol to look at the Capitol Police. Knowing the situation that they were in, and you talk about, you know, a situation that didn't have to be. It was definitely an unforced error that the Democrats just decided that they were going to put the American people through that. And even, you know, my staff was not getting paid. So Washington, D.C. was truly in a distressed turmoil for that many days. And we are thrilled that we finally have it done, and people came to more sensible decisions. And, you know, we had 8 across the aisle to vote with us, and then to get it passed in the House. It was total relief, I'm going to be honest with you.
Senator, there were people that thought that there were different moments along the way that might lead to the end of the shutdown. First, it was the No Kings protest and march, and then it didn't happen after that. And then people said, well, they just want to get through the election, and after that. Do you think there was a tipping point moment for Democrats where they're like, okay, we've got to stop. We've actually got to get back to work?
Oh, yes. When you had so many of the Democrats getting calls and hearing from constituents, they really cranked up the heat on them. And finally, you know, we had 8 of them to get in the room and say, guys, there is no sense in continuing this on, and somebody has to be the adult. And they, you know, was different things back and forth. And, I mean, that's 100 of us. We were shut up together for 8 days. We were really ready to make this happen, but when the pressure started getting there, and we could see the boiling point, and when it reached beyond that boiling point, you know, and they came out and they were willing to agree to do things, and that was the best possible decision they could have made to end the nonsense. Let's get back to work. Let's get back to business. We're all going to, you know, to talk about the things, the sticking points that they're not comfortable with. We're going to do something about those. But let's pass a continuing resolution now. And the thing that, you know, really didn't make sense, we're continuing the Biden budget. It's not like, you know, it was a Trump deal that they were so adversely against. It's continuing the Biden budget. And hopefully, you know, by the end of January, we can get through this, we can make things happen, and we can actually get the budget for the current administration in place. And, you know, there were several good things that came out. You know, we had a 3-bill package that would make full-year appropriations, you know, for the SNAP was in there. We said, we can pass SNAP if you just let us go with the CR now, and we can pass that agriculture appropriations bill. We're going to get SNAP in that, too. And, you know, the WIC, the Women's, Infant, and Children, the Special Supplemental, that's the nutrition program.
Right.
It's in there. The Department of Veterans Affairs, we can start paying the military. Let us get these 3 bills passed along with the CR. So, you know, there was a lot of negotiating. There were a lot of tools that came out of the toolbox to try to get us in a better place. And it was back and forth. Normally, I got tickled. We normally have to run on the other end of the House side, but this was right there in the Senate chambers between each other that we were trying to compromise. We were trying to get things done and make them realize, hey, we can do the CR with these things in it, and this is what's going to happen. But it's so hard to get something out of committee across the floor because everybody has the ability to have amendments to, you know, the amendment process when that's available, and everybody has their amendments of things. We had Republicans that had amendments. So it's a lot of discussions. It's a lot of, wait a minute, everybody cool off, or let me give you something to think about. And then you have to allow that time for them to think about, well, maybe this does make sense, or come back and say, this one little point here we've got to change. So we've earned our keep. I assure you, the last 40 days, we've earned our keep there of trying to get this out because, I mean, it's a democracy and we have to make it work.
There were some strong words yesterday from the Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, with regard to what Chuck Schumer had perhaps or allegedly proposed, and that was that Schumer and Mike Johnson and Hakeem Jeffries and John Thune kind of go to a back room and let's just see if we can hammer out a deal. He called it a four corners agreement. Mike Johnson said, no, we're going to be transparent with the American people. We're going to debate this in the open, and everybody's going to be on the record. What did you make of Speaker Johnson's statement of, no, this is not going to be a typical Washington backroom deal. This is going to be something, because there's always, I feel like there's a lot of lip service about transparency, but a lot of times stuff gets done in that kind of proverbial smoky back room, whether that actually exists or not anymore. What did you take away from that?
Well, I totally admire Mike Johnson. I think he is one of the best speakers of the House we've ever had, and I truly think that. And, he is so conscious of what the public thinks, the public perception, that he wants to make sure that, we are there representing the people. And I can see Mike saying, wait a minute, let's bring this forward, let's bring this out. But there's so many details that you have to hammer out that the public really is not interested in listening to. The nitty-gritty that has to be done, and then you wait a couple hours and say, well, go talk to who you need to talk to and come back. But I applaud him. I applaud him for that, to just say, we're going to actually make sure that everybody knows what we're doing, that this is something that they would be very concerned about, very interested about. So, let's just make sure that we're not in a secret here.
Visiting with Cindy Hyde-Smith, Mississippi Senator, one of two from our state. And you, along with a couple of your colleagues, Mark Wayne Mullen from Oklahoma, Tim Sheehy from Montana, requested a meeting in the Oval Office with the president, I guess it was about a week ago, to sit down and talk about some of the challenges that are facing cattle farmers in particular. At least the way I understand it, the meeting was requested with President Trump, but then you ended up with J.D. Vance there, and Brooke Rollins there, and Marco Rubio there as well. What can you tell us about that meeting, what you were trying to get out of it, and what ultimately came from that meeting in the Oval Office?
Well, we hear this word affordability, and that's something that the American people are truly looking for, and the price of groceries. And I knew what the president's intent was when he went into, talking about beef, that, he just wants things affordable for that mom pushing that shopping cart. So flying down, I came down to the Turning Point event with JD on Air Force Two. So we had a long time that we could discuss ways that I thought we could address that. And obviously one of the main things was the ones who actually put the retail price on the beef. It's not the producer. It is the packers. It's the beef packers. When I was a teenager, we literally had like 1,500 federally inspected, a little less than that, probably 1,300 federally inspected facilities for slaughter plants. Today we have four. The big four is what we call them. Then they have a monopoly. They can manipulate the price. And, two of them are foreign-owned. One of them's really bad characters. And, they're not afraid to do things that really are not above board with pricing the beef that goes into the grocery store. So I had that conversation with JD, so he fully understood it because we had a lot of time together. And then I went over for breakfast at the White House and had the opportunity to sit down with Marco. Well, in 2019, I have a letter that Marco was trying to do the exact same thing in 2019, but because of really powerful lobbyists and a lot of money involved in this, it just did not happen. But Marco is very up to date. I mean, he calls them the meat cartels. Marco is very up to date and knowledgeable. And I said, Marco, I need you in that meeting. And, because we really need to clearly explain this to the president. And, of course, Brooke Rollins, Secretary of Ag, she and I had talked extensively about it. So I asked for a meeting with the president, and they said, of course, this is your time. Come on in. We had to adjust it one time because of schedules.
Senator,
so
let me interrupt. Excuse me. Let me interrupt just for a second. We're up against a break. We're going to take a quick time out and then want to pick up exactly where you are. We're talking about the meeting that Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith had in the Oval Office just over a week ago to try and address some of the price issues, the affordability issues for meat and other things in the grocery store, and also tariffs lifted on fertilizer. We'll get back to that right after this.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
In the car, at home, or at work, it's always free to listen to SuperTalk Mississippi and Mornings with Richard Cross.
Sweet Jane.
Back with you on MRC. Appreciate you being with us on this Thursday morning, the 13th of November. Senator Cindy Hyde-Smith is my guest. I apologize for the interruption, but I'd love for you to pick up where you were. You were talking about the attendees in the meeting. Vice President J.D. Vance, Secretary of State Marco Rubio, Secretary of Agriculture Brooke Rollins. Everybody was on the same page in terms of your meeting and what you were going to present to President Trump. Going forward about trying to help with some of the cost issues related to meat in particular.
Yes, and I did invite the senator from Oklahoma, Mark Wayne Mullen, and the senator from Montana, Tim Sheehy. They both raise beef cattle, and the president really likes both of them. So I thought, well, the three of us walk in the room, he is not going to feel like he's been ganged up on or anything. And so we did get in there. We were able to get his attention for, the long enough to explain to him who actually sets the retail price. And he agreed with us. He said something's going on. He said when, the cattle market, the cattle prices are one thing, and then what we refer to as the boxed beef, what you see in the grocery store, is there's such a huge difference between those two prices. He said, that doesn't add up. He said, I agree with all of you. He said, we do need to, have an investigation, and let's try to filter this out and see what's going on so, it can be adjusted for those actually putting the price on there and being fair to the producer. And the reason that you've seen the increase is the herd of cattle in this country is much smaller than it's been in a long, long time, and we're like at a 75-year low. Because the input costs are so great compared to the profit, because we can't control the price of the retail. I said we've always been willing takers, not willing sellers, because they just told us, the big four just told us what they would give you for it. Well, that put so many people out of business. The production obviously reduced. So there are fewer cattle. We're having to bring some in to meet the demands, but the demand for beef is so high. I mean, it is obviously the go-to for so many moms. You look at the restaurants, everybody likes the steaks on the weekends and, whenever throughout the restaurants. So that's the issue right there. So we've got to have a plan to rebuild the herd. We've got to have a plan to allow young farmers and ranchers, beginning new farmers and ranchers, the ability to get in. So we're looking at programs like that. And, because it's really the price of equipment with so many issues. It is just extreme compared to what it was literally like 5 or 6 years ago. So that's how we got here. I just want a very strategic plan with the people in the room that actually have been successful making things happen to get us to the point where we can be meeting the demands with the best beef in the world, the American beef coming out, and that was the goal. And the meeting could not have gone any better. So when we were talking about things of input costs, I said, Mr. President, we paid $300 and $400 a ton for fertilizer. We're paying $1,000 a ton for fertilizer now. And, it's because of the tariffs and different things. And so he said, let's take the tariffs off right now. So we just came out, thinking, what a great, great meeting, because the president listened. We actually put things in place that can get real results and not just talking about an issue and then nothing happening. And I could not have been more grateful for his time, because he and I had several conversations about it. but everybody could come in the room. And, of course, all of his staff was in there as well, Stephen Miller and the heads that we needed to have in there. So I was very pleased coming out of that. And, that any anti-competitive behavior of price and marketing manipulations, it will be scrutinized, and we can have the Justice Department and the antitrust investigation. And Pam Bondi immediately responded saying, I'm all over this. We're going to get this done, because we've got to look out for that consumer, the mom pushing that shopping cart.
Well, you're looking out for the consumer, but also for the farmer in that cattle industry. I'm curious in terms of the price of fertilizer going down. So you get that relief on the tariffs. You said that goes into effect immediately. So many times we see commodity prices, they will skyrocket, and it doesn't take long for that to happen. But in terms of the price actually coming down, it feels like that's just like a faucet that's just like drip, drip, drip. It's not. You just open the floodgate. How quickly are farmers going to see relief on the price of fertilizer?
Well, we're still learning of how the president will handle the issue for erasing those tariffs.
Okay.
And but he made his commitment. Obviously, there's things that have to get done, and everybody knows the president's personality. He wants it done, and he wants it done right now. So I feel like that it will come probably sooner than if we, had just started releasing tariffs. But, he understands fertilizer, it's critical, not for just row crops, but for anybody who's trying to feed livestock as well, and it will help all the farmers. So we will likely learn more about this in the coming days, maybe the coming weeks. But, in the meantime, I just really credit the Trump administration and they even included the phosphates, a key ingredient in fertilizer. He went above and beyond. I mean, he really did to try to, even on the U.S. critical minerals that you're hearing a lot about right now with potash. There's just so many things about this process, and it can be confusing. It's our world. My goodness,
SuperTalk Mississippi on Facebook. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi and the SuperTalk app.
Once again, good morning to you as we roll into the 8 o'clock hour. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank. Quick reminder, Middays with Gerard Gibbert will be in Oxford tomorrow for the annual Ole Miss Banking and Finance Symposium. To register for the event, go to the Ole Miss alumni page or email Dr. Ken Cyree. His email address is kbcyree, Cyree, at olemiss.edu. And next week, Sports Talk Mississippi will be at Scruggs Farm, Lawn, and Garden in Saltillo. That's next Wednesday, gearing up for Super Santa, which is next Saturday, November 22nd. Holiday specials on clothing, sporting goods, feed, and John Deere equipment. That's Scruggs Farm, Lawn, and Garden, 3575 Tom Watson Drive in Saltillo. Thanks for being with us this morning. We're going to get to some of your messages on the C Spire text line. But right now, I welcome in Jim Leggette. He is a lecturer of economics, distinguished lecturer of economics at Mississippi State. Jim, always good to see you. Thanks for some of your time this morning.
Morning, Richard. Hope you're doing well. It's a beautiful day to be alive. If you don't like this weather, there's just something wrong with you.
That's right. That's right. Amen to that. Let's just start here. This is something that we talked about yesterday, a conversation that is in the news. The idea of a 50-year mortgage. Good idea or bad idea?
Well, Babylon Bee had a satire. You got to love their satire. Sometimes I like it, and sometimes I go, you guys are nuts. It had Dave Ramsey in intense care after hearing the idea. Mm-hmm. And I think I understand the why, but it's kind of a bad idea. You trade off, you get $200 a month roughly savings, and you get $500,000 extra in interest on the back end. That's probably not a good idea. But But on the other hand, things, and I think it may keep people from building equity, because that's kind of the only thing us regular guys can get is equity in real estate. That more importantly, it highlights a problem why you never, ever, ever want to have inflation. Housing prices are up 50% since the inflation started in the pandemic raged. And that's the real problem. Part of it's the Fed. Part of it, we've been too restrictive on supply. So I understand why you're talking about it, because it's something, quote, it can fix the problem, but it doesn't really fix the problem.
Sure.
So I think you can get low interest rates if you squash inflation. I almost said whip inflation, and some of our listeners may remember that was Gerald Ford's ill-fated attempt. In fact, I think, and Saturday Night Live made fun of him. Of course, he set himself up by falling off the airplanes and Chevy Chase. Oh, great, you made my career. But I think that's the real answer. But but there is some relief on the supply side. I'm looking in my subdivision. It's a nice subdivision, but it's not the highest of high end. There are 4 houses going up right now. And I think it's because interest, we kind of got inflation underhand, and but we don't have it whipped, because I think these guys are sitting on the spec house, sitting on the sidelines waiting for something that's kind of affordable. But the only way you can solve the interest rate problem is you've got to fix inflation. But if you don't fix inflation, interest rates are going to go up. That's just how it works.
Isn't the larger
My students
issue
will recognize there's something called the Fisher effect?
I'm sure they will. They're hearing probably some familiar themes. Is the larger issue price versus cost? And what I mean by that is there are so many people that live paycheck to paycheck, and they can't necessarily worry about what an item costs. They're just worrying about what the price is on a monthly basis or a weekly basis for them. Can I afford the payment versus does it actually cost me a lot more in the long run? I can't worry about that because I don't have enough cash to pay for the item, the house, the car, whatever, all in one lump sum or on a really short payment cycle. But if you lower the payment, I can figure out a way to make it work, and, it costs what it costs.
Well, and that's your trade-off. And I guess why I don't like the instrument of the 50-year note or the 7-year note on a truck. I understand why people do it for all the arguments you think. I think probably what the distortion will be, if you stretch out that payment, prices are going to ratchet up to reflect that you now have more purchasing power and you're right back where you were. That's probably why that Babylon Bee thing with Dave Ramsey having a stroke, I just laughed because how he, I think he's maybe a little too extreme about borrowing money, but he nevertheless has a point.
Yeah. So you mentioned interest rates a couple of times. We've seen a couple of 25 basis points reduction in the key rate, and sometimes people conflate mortgage interest rates with the key Fed rate, and while they're connected, they're not directly connected. There's some debate as to whether or not the Fed is going to lower rates again between now and the end of the year. The thought initially was it was going to happen at least once more, maybe twice more before the end of the year, but now some concern over maybe kind of staying put for a little while longer. Where do you see that conversation?
If I got a vote, and obviously I don't, I think, and I'm a little bit of a hawk here about this sort of stuff. I am trained by University of Chicago economists who think inflation should be zero. In fact, one of my professors, he studied under Milton Friedman, so I guess I'm Milton once removed. Mm-hmm. I think we have not solved inflation.
Okay.
I think we're at a crossroads. And here's going to be one of the implications of the shutdown that plays directly in that. The Fed is now flying blind. We didn't get October inflation numbers, and we're not going to get them. Because, you can't go back and collect the data in October to release them in November.
Right.
And we're not getting unemployment. And I think, here's perhaps the analogy. I'm a pilot, or I'm in a storm. I'm flying by instruments, and all my key instruments just went out. It's probably a bad idea to land if you don't have to, or hit crowded airspace. So I think the prudent thing to do would be wait till you understand. I think we're at a crossroads. There's some evidence to suggest the job market is softening. It's probably a good thing we won't see October unemployment because all those furloughed government workers would show up in that number and the rate would spike.
Yeah.
So I like everybody else, I'm usually wrong about prognostication. The forecasts are easy. It's particularly hard, particularly about the future.
I've got a good friend who's been a regular guest with us that worked on Wall Street. He was governor on the New York Stock Exchange, and for months now we've talked about kind of a recessionary environment. And there were signs that we were headed toward a recession, and it kept not happening and kept not happening. Inflation and recession are tied pretty closely together. You say we don't still, in your mind, have inflation completely under control. How much of a standing on the edge of a recessionary cliff are we, or is that concern past?
I think we're still sitting on a cliff. I think, the psychology of recessions is kind of interesting in the sense, markets can be at all-time highs. We feel like we're doing good. And then all of a sudden there's like a day it falls off the cliff, and I think that the dark clouds are, the government shutdown, not necessarily because it really mattered. I used a line with some friend that was visiting. Government shutdown reminds me of that line from Shakespeare, from Macbeth. Sound and fury signifying nothing. When the day is done, but some folks got hurt. Not so much the government workers, but all the people downstream who depend on their money.
Right.
I think, but it says something about our ability to manage our affairs. I think, also, since I can't help myself, I'm trained by Chicago economists. I hate tariffs. I think, that cloud is still out there. I think, chatting with Buddy Gerard, one of the interesting things he raised is businesses have eaten about 65% of the cost of the tariffs. They can't do that forever. And the senator was on there a few minutes ago. She was talking about how tariffs would hit fertilizer.
Right.
And, and then I think what was interesting to listen to her conversation in a highly competitive and semi-commoditized industry like, agriculture, you can't eat those costs. You got to pass them through. Where other ones, like you can suck it in for a while. So, I think those are the two wild cards there. And I think people are anxiously waiting to see what myself included, what the Supreme Court's going to decide, hopefully sooner rather than later.
Yeah. Jim Leggett's my guest, lecturer of economics at Mississippi State. You got time to hang with me through the break and visit for a little while longer?
Absolutely. This is fun.
Outstanding. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. We're glad to have you along for the ride. We will continue the money conversation on the other side of this break. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, presented by Community Bank. Find them online at communitybank.net. We're back right after this.
The Venable Glass Trap.
Interviews, weather, sports, all right here, all morning long. Mornings with Richard Cross on Super Talk Mississippi.
At Community Bank, we're here for every part of your financial journey. Looking to manage your personal finances? Our banking services make it simple, secure, and tailored to you. Ready to grow your business? We offer expert guidance and custom solutions to help your business thrive. Dreaming of a new home? Our mortgage specialists are here to make the process seamless. All designed with you in mind. We're more than just a bank. We're your partner for life's biggest moments. Community Bank, rooted in our community, member FDIC, equal housing lender. Jim Leggette is my guest, lecturer of economics at Mississippi State. He has been a regular on multiple shows on SuperTalk Mississippi for a long time. We always enjoy the conversations. Jim, as a professor, you hand out grades to your students based on their performance in your class over the course of a semester. If I ask you to hand out a grade through 10 months of this administration in terms of their handling of the economy, taking into account what they inherited from the previous administration, I don't know if that qualifies as a curve or not, what grade would you give what grade would you give the Trump administration?
Part of it I like, part of it I don't. So let's go with the part I like. Inflation is going the right way. Employment seems to be softening, but it's still kind of okay. I think he's done some things that allow us to capitalize on the AI boom. I think it's going to change everything, and it may save us from ourselves. So for those elements, I'll give a B to an A. For tariffs, I'll give an F. Come back to class, you didn't learn anything.
Mm. On the tariff conversation, when tariffs are used as a tool in the toolbox, as opposed to like your primary economic mechanism, can you point to effectiveness with them, or just absolutely no tariffs, period, get rid of them, free market?
The part of me that's an absolute purist and likes what Milton Friedman said. If they want to dump stuff and give away stuff to us, it's great, take it. However, I'm also a little bit of a pragmatist. And remember the dust up over the Reagan radio address that the Canadians did?
Mm-hmm.
And they basically excerpted a part from his radio address. Here's the part where you get kind of okay, or at least find it pragmatic. It was a very targeted tariff prior to a meeting with Japan about a particular issue over semiconductors. And by the way, in Reagan's post-presidency accounts, he said this was a bad idea. Then the rest of the radio address went on and said, you know what, I'm doing this for these reasons, but this is a bad idea for all these other reasons. So I guess that way I think you were trying to get me to explore with you is I certainly don't like the blanket tariffs. I don't like calling a 50-year problem the emergency problem, but properly used, targeted, it is a tool. You can't, but I guess in that Reagan address, what he talks about is there was something in the 1930s called the Smoot-Hawley tariff. And basically what happened, Congress slapped in high tariffs to protect jobs in the Great Depression. And many people think it made the Great Depression because what happened is Europe said, hey, watch this. We'll do this too. And it became a race to the bottom. So that's why, in fact, I am going to teach tariffs next week. And I tease the students, I thought I would never have to teach this. This is on the ash heap of history. And I go, okay, I guess I was wrong. But let's talk about it. And I guess my goal really is to, just like you and I are discussing here, talk about why folks think it's a bad idea and you decide. Now, here's another one that really makes it tricky. Trade deficits in and of itself are not a problem, because I run a surplus for my students, but I run a deficit with Kroger. That's just how stuff works out. Mm-hmm. Now, here's the one. If you're the rest of the world, you go, why are you doing this? If you run a chronic deficit, I wonder what country that is. The United States. You are going to get a trade deficit too. In the 90s, they called this the twin deficits. So they may say, put up a mirror and say, hey, don't blame us. You're the one who can't get your house in order.
Yeah.
But I also understand the strategic, and I guess as a strategic tool, I can get okay. As a unilateral remaking the post-World War II economy, it may be the thing to do, but you shouldn't do it unilaterally.
Sure.
So I hate them, but somebody else equally articulate could probably, maybe more articulate, could make a better case.
We like, Jim, to selectively bash subsidies. Yes. We talk about entitlements, and people are like, "Oh, you got to get rid of entitlements. It has caused a generation of laziness and people not working. They're just waiting for a handout check." But we don't recognize that basically every industry that's out there is subsidized to some degree: farming, aviation, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. As
you and I buying a house,
sure, yeah.
Yeah.
And this may be a philosophical question more than anything else, but as a studier of economics, a learner of economics, a teacher of economics, if you got rid of subsidies across the board, like the government stopped subsidizing everything, and you let a free market truly operate as a free market, we know that there would be short-term pain. Would it crash everything, or with time, would it be a success?
I am either optimistic or naive. Probably is a fine line there. The two go together. I think the world will be a whole lot better off because as soon as you start subsidies, you're favoring one industry over the other, and what that means is the government's now involved, which now means politics is now involved. I could make an argument. My wife will hate me for this one. Since we subsidize mortgage interest, aside from distortions of non-homeowners, do we really want to plow that much money into housing in lieu of having that same amount of money go to create the next AI thing? And of course, we all know that two parts of this whole discussion. We all like my subsidy, but I don't like yours.
Right.
That's
what I was talking about at the beginning with selective outrage over subsidizing.
Yeah. In fact, if you want kind of a spooky thing, if you want to look at the Socialist Party platform of 1912, they've gotten everything. Social Security, Medicare, subsidized housing, blah, 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 government regulation. But by the way, all those were good things. But the point is, we're in this mixed economy. I think the more important question is whether Richard gets a subsidy or I get a subsidy is, do we mess up incentives to work? One of the challenges with Obamacare, as an example, there was some threshold where you got subsidies. And then if you crossed on the other side of that, you took a very big hit. So you're motivated to manage your stuff. So, you don't work too hard, So I worry about, hate's too strong a word, but subsidies I'm leery about because it's really into the idea of government picks winners and losers. And there's no way of getting out of that. That means government is deciding, which means those with political power are deciding, where in the market, you and I decide we like something, we go buy it and off we go. It's probably too purist of an argument, but it's got to start someplace.
No, I understand that. We'll leave it here this morning. Gas prices have ticked up over the last week and a half, 2 weeks. Is that simply because the holiday season is approaching, or is there something else at work in terms of gas prices going up?
My look is just as you described. We're hitting the road, so demand's going up. I don't see anything weird going on in the oil market, other than the standard ups and downs. It's not like you took a bunch of oil off the market. We may get another disruption if we figure out how to take Russian oil out of the market. And I hope we kind of find a way, because if you look at the fall of the Soviet Union, it was making the Russian oil market collapse is probably why they failed.
Because they were broke.
You had the Reagan rhetoric, plus you don't have the money for an arms race.
Yeah. Jim, always appreciate your time. It's a fun conversation, one that makes us think a little bit. Hope you have a wonderful weekend.
And I will, and you'll get a kick out of some of the issues we've addressed today. We're doing it in class in a few hours.
Outstanding. Maybe some of your students were listening. Probably not, but maybe.
They're not awake.
I understand. Jim Leggette, lecturer of economics, Mississippi State. Always a fun visit with him. Got just a hair under half an hour left with you on this Thursday morning. A pleasure to be with you. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk Mississippi, streaming online at supertalk.fm and SuperTalk TV. Home stretch right after this.
Reaching across the state and across the aisle. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk, Mississippi.
Appreciate you being with us. It's Mornings with Richard Cross, SuperTalk, Mississippi. A lot of talk about payments, a lot of talk about money, a lot of talk about interest rates. How does 0% financing sound to you? Well, that's what you can get right now at Belk Ford on a new F-150. 0% for 60 months. If you're looking for rebates, sometimes it's hard to combine rebates and low interest rates. They've got those as well. Still take advantage of rebate offers from Ford Motor Credit to go along with low interest rates. Kind of a sliding scale there, from 0% up to about 4.9% on a payment schedule that works for you from 36 months all the way out to 84 months. A great selection of F-150s on the lot. Maybe you're coming into Oxford for a ball game this weekend, and you also recognize that it's time to get a new vehicle. Whether it's kind of leading into the holidays, whether it's a strategic decision because it's what your accountant told you needed to do, or maybe you just run the wheels off your current car and it's time to get a new one. Let my friends at Belk Ford help you with that. They're located conveniently on Highway 6 West. If you're coming into Oxford from Batesville, it's on your right as you make your way over from I-55. Great people, great service after the sale. Earlier this week, I was just curious. I was getting my oil changed and was had a few minutes to spare, and so I got behind the wheel of the brand new Ford Expedition. Still looks mostly the same on the outside, but man, on the inside, it feels like you're flying a plane almost. So luxurious, so nice, and they've got a great selection of them on the lot right now. So whether it's an F-150, an Expedition, an Explorer, a Bronco, I don't know, maybe you're looking for a Mustang. They will help you out right now. Belk Ford, Oxford Toyota, Highway 6 West in Oxford. Alongside Lance Tolbert, I'm Richard Cross. Thanks for joining us.
Hey, I looked into the new FJ Cruiser specifics. Man, what a piece of junk that's going to be.
Oh!
Yeah, I mean, they cut the power and, horsepower in half. It's a little four-cylinder. Man, you can't do that. That's going to be a little street car.
Maybe you need to get behind the wheel in the future then of that new Toyota Land Cruiser. Those are
the one with like a V12.
Nice.
Yeah, I mean, nice. I remember back in the day, I had a Dodge V12 Magnum, and I went over to the muffler shop and told the guy, "Yeah, I want straight pipes on that thing." And he's like, "No, you don't." I said, "Yeah, go on and put them on there." And so I drove home and didn't really think about it because it was rush hour, and woke up the next morning in like 30-degree weather, and hearing that thing set off, it sounded like a Harley at about 4:30, and I felt so bad for all my neighbors. I drove over there that afternoon and said, "No, put some Flowmasters on this thing." I told you.
We got to throttle this back a little bit. Thomas on the C Spire text line says, "If my accountant told me to finance a depreciating asset, I'd find a new accountant." That's not what I was suggesting, Thomas.
0% is, no.
Well, 0% for one thing. I mean, you're talking about free money in terms of borrowing it. But you know as well as I do, Thomas, that sometimes based on your income and your expenses, your accountant will tell you or suggest that you purchase, you make a capital expenditure before the end of the year. And a lot of times vehicles fall into that category. And so sometimes for some, that might make sense. It might even be just writing a check for the vehicle, and they'll take care of you if you do that as well. So, I have had this story maybe every day this week, certainly for the last 3 days, and I just haven't gotten to it because we've had a lot going on. But I'm wondering if perhaps, I'll just raise my hand. I'm not going to put anybody else in this category. We've not given this enough play because I think it's a really big deal. All 20 people charged in connection with a year drug-related investigation led by the FBI have pleaded not guilty. Maybe you've been following this story. Maybe you haven't. This is the story where you have double-digit law enforcement and corrections officers in the state of Mississippi who are alleged to have been involved in a major drug trafficking conspiracy. The story is crazy, and it's scary, and it's, I mean, you want to talk about a story that makes your blood boil. Like, these are the people that are supposed to be protecting us. Now, again, alleged, and all 20 have pleaded not guilty. Among those who have elected to contest their charges, well, hold on, before I give you the names. What are we talking about? According to a federal indictment, law enforcement officers involved in this drug trafficking conspiracy in and through Mississippi are said to have taken bribes ranging from $1,500 to over $30,000 to aid and abet drug trafficking and associated crimes. The officers are believed to have worked for an undercover FBI agent posing as a Mexican drug cartel member, providing safe passage for drug runs through the Mississippi Delta and up to Memphis and the Memphis area. One of the FBI agents at the time the indictments were handed down said these corrupt law enforcement officers provided protection for those whom they believed were drug traffickers in exchange for bribe payments. Each of the law enforcement officers arrested had taken an oath to protect and serve their respective communities, an oath that they violated. This type of corruption strikes at the heart of communities. It erodes public confidence and undermines the strength of law enforcement integrity. So, who are we talking about? Among those who have elected to contest their charges, Washington County Sheriff Milton Gaston, Humphreys County Sheriff Bruce Williams. The two of them, along with 18 others, were arrested on October 30th, so 2 weeks ago, for their alleged roles in this major drug trafficking conspiracy. An overwhelming majority of those arrested worked in law enforcement. Sheriff Gaston is represented, his attorney is State Senator Derek Simmons. Sheriff Williams is represented by Cleveland attorney Michael Carr. Here's the full list of names. And again, these are accused and indicted people. They are not convicted. They will have their day in court. They are innocent until they are proven guilty. So in addition to Gaston and Williams, Brandon Addison from the Hollandale Police Department and the Humphrey County Sheriff's Department, Javery Howard with the Metcalf Police Department and the Hollandale Police Department, Truron Grayson with the Humphreys County Sheriff's Department, Sean Williams with the Yazoo City Police Department and MDOC, Dexter Franklin with the Washington County Sheriff's Office, Wendell Johnson with the Bolivar County Sheriff's Office, Jamario Sanford, Greenwood Police Department, Marvin Flowers, Sunflower County Sheriff's Office, Martavius Moore, Greenville Police Department, Mississippi Department of Corrections, Marquavius Bankhead with the Mississippi Highway Patrol, Chaka Gaines with the Greenwood Police Department, DeQuarian Smith with the Humphreys County Sheriff's Office and the Isola Police Department, and Marcus Nolan with MDOC. 19 of the 20 individuals in this case are charged with violating federal firearm laws relating to carrying a firearm while participating in a drug trafficking crime. They were arrested in numerous counties in Mississippi, along with Shelby County, Tennessee. Shelby County, obviously where Memphis is. This is a big deal. And we're going to see how it plays out. The U.S. Attorney's Office, Northern District, based in Oxford, is prosecuting the case. Lead prosecutor is Robert Mims with the United States Attorney's Office. These arrests don't happen, not in this type of volume, without a preponderance of evidence suggesting that this is real. And the fact that you had an undercover FBI agent posing as a Mexican drug cartel member coordinating this with these officers speaks to the evidence being pretty damning. Again, they will have their day in court. But if you woke up to this news 2 weeks ago and you're like, hold on, you've got police officers, sheriff's deputies, and Department of Corrections officials from up and down the Mississippi Delta who were taking bribes to make sure that drug runners and drug traffickers got safely through their territories. That's disgusting. Just disgusting. We'll wrap it up with you. Coming up next, it's Mornings with Richard Cross, Super Talk, Mississippi. Glad to have you along on this Thursday morning.
From the Venable Glass Traffic.
Mornings with Richard Cross.
What's up? Let's get the show going.
Super Talk, Mississippi.
Tim on the C-Spire text line talking about the story before the break says, in a sting operation, you know there's audio and video recordings of the meeting and transactions. You would think so. This mess is the reason the open border was so infuriating to me. This proves that the cartels can operate in this country the same way they do in Mexico. Very scary. I don't know that it's the same way that it is in Mexico, but the idea that law enforcement can be bought and paid for to allow for the safe passage of drugs, that's pretty similar. It's kind of the way the cartels have operated in Mexico, although with much more violence for a long time. Mr. West on the C-Spire text line says, I pointed that out a couple of weeks ago, and some messed up stuff. I mean, obviously the story came out on October 30th, and you've had some additional information that's come along. And like I told you, I said, I think we've done a bad job talking about this enough. I know it was mentioned in passing a couple of weeks ago, but it's like we just kind of moved on to the next thing. And I've kind of pushed it to the side a couple of days this week. Like, we got to talk about this. It's a bad deal. Bad deal. Let's see here. Just looking at a couple of your messages that we missed in the C-Spire text line. 601-879-4395. That's how you can be part of the conversation. Hey, if you're in the market for land, or you're looking to sell land that you've already got, I'd love to tell you about my friends at David Fisher Land Company. You can find them online at davidfisherland.com. They've been in the land financing, land brokering, land selling business for over 40 years. So a lot of experience, not just in Mississippi, but also in Arkansas and Louisiana. David Fisher Land Company is headquartered in Inverness, right in the heart of the Mississippi Delta, but they operate all over the South. And if you happen to be looking for somebody to help you sell a piece of property. They've got relationships all over the South and buyers that are looking for certain properties as well. DavidFisherLand.com is their website. You go there and you can see some of the properties that they've got on the market, and there's some really impressive properties. We were talking about Powerball and Mega Millions earlier. If Lance was a winner, I know Lance has got a hunting spot, but I think he probably would be looking for a second spot.
Oh, definitely. Yeah.
And I'm quite confident that he would go to DavidFisherLand.com.
Well, after looking at their website 20 times, I had to clean the drool off of the screen, and then I would make a deal.
Dude, some of these properties, that Oktibbeha County property, Trim Cane Creek, which is, what is it, a couple of thousand acres, 1,200 acres of land, a mix of timber and open farmland. Got some water on it, just 2.5 miles north of Mississippi State's campus. It's got a shed, it's got a house, it's got a cattle facility. Just a small sample of the land that is available. Got land in the Delta, some that has already gone under contract, including one of the properties that we told you about in Holmes County just a couple of weeks ago.
There's some big deer in Holmes County, buddy.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir, there are. DavidFisherLand.com, DavidFisherLand.com. Youth season opened this past Saturday. My son is frustrated, aggravated, not the right word. Anxious is the right word. He is anxious to get into a deer stand.
He ready.
So we put out a couple of trail cameras, a week or so ago. He and I both got the app on our phone, and it's like a race each day to see who can scroll through the pictures first and be like, hey, Dad, did you see that? Or, hey, Obi, did you see that?
I love it when you put one out way out in the woods and you're sitting at the house and you get a picture of this amazing rack. You're like, oh, yeah, I knew he was out there. Then the next time you get to camp, somebody had already killed it. So, yeah, you got to.
Yeah, that's no good.
Yeah, you got to. Timing is everything.
That's why you go to DavidFisherLand.com and you buy your own property, and you don't have 30 different people hunting the same deer. It's you going after that deer.
Yes, sir.
And, of course, that deer will stay within the boundaries of your property. He's not going to wander. He's not going to, range around anywhere else.
Put a shock collar on him. Yeah.
What's the great saying, Lance? I don't want to own all the land. I just want to own all the land that touches mine.
I agree. And I'm in. If I hit the lottery, I'm definitely buying everything around me.
There you go.
Just for just to say I have it.
If you get out into the woods this weekend with a youngster, well, that made me sound old.
Youngsters, yeah.
The youngster season is going. You make it out into the woods with a younger person this weekend and soak that time up. Soak it up and be thankful for every second you've got. And for those of you that are just waiting for the big person deer season to begin, it'll be here before long. Thanks for being with us on this Thursday. For Lance, I'm Richard. Mornings with Richard Cross on SuperTalk Mississippi, presented by Community Bank. Have a great Thursday.
SuperTalk Mississippi Media Production.